Today's talk is about Joseph from Genesis, and that song is from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And when Kenneth suggested it to me, I looked up the lyrics and I thought, I don't know what these mean. So I called David, because David conducted the original company on Broadway. He did the arrangements, he conducted it. And I said, what does this mean? And he said, I don't know. I said, the writer's very obtuse. I could say the color code is mentioned, and that Joseph was a dreamer, but otherwise I really couldn't make a connection. But it sure is pretty, you do it beautifully. That's like, what the heck, let's keep it in, because it's quite beautiful. Joseph, tough one. Because there's so many opinions to have about the story of Joseph. And I'm sure you all have opinions about the story of Joseph, don't you?
Know the story of Joseph.
Okay. Has anyone ever read a Bible here? Wayne Dwyer's nice, but the Bible is also a bestseller. And it's, I know it's hard to understand. It's taken me years to grasp this stuff. And I have to use reference books and things to grasp what they're talking about a lot of times, especially since we in Unity explain it metaphysically. And I look at Joseph, and there's so many ways to look at Joseph there at the end of Genesis. He's he's the oldest son of Jacob. And Jacob was clearly not the best of fathers. He was narcissistic, and Jacob only saw things the way that he saw them. And then Joseph was the oldest son and the favorite of Joseph. And Joseph was not what you call humble. He had dreams, he had visions, and things. And so here he is. He's the oldest son of 12. His father's favorite. His father treats him as the favorite, clearly, and his father gives him this amazing coat of many colors, and he likes to flaunt it. Joseph likes to wear his coat around the house and the fields and everything. And then but he has a dream, and he can't wait to tell his brothers the dream. And the dream is, one day you guys are going to bow down to me. Now imagine. Those of you who have brothers and sisters, if you went and told them that, this great dream, one day you're going to bow down to it, do you think they would like you very much? Would they like you? Or if one of them came to you, said, hey, guess what? You're going to be bowing down to me one day. Good news. Because I don't care for that. And so because it's the Bible in biblical times, what they did was, when Joseph came and found them in the field and he's wearing his coat, they took the coat off of him and they threw him in a well. Or a pit, however you want to look at it, a dry well. And, good times. Sibling rivalry. And then they realized, wait a minute, you know what we could do rather than kill him? Let's sell him. So they sold him into slavery. They killed an animal and dipped the coat into the animal blood, so they could take the coat home and say, Dad, I'm sorry, but look what happened to Joseph. Clearly he was killed by an animal. This is all that's left. And they sell Joseph into slavery, and he goes over to Egypt. And Potiphar buys him. And it turns out to be a great relationship for a long time. He sees how smart Joseph is, and Joseph is good with money, and he makes him his right-hand man. Until Joseph's wife, or not Joseph's wife, Potiphar's wife, finds Joseph attractive. Now, at this point, Joseph is more on a God track. The talk is called single lie. Oh, it's up. It's Florida calling. It's okay. Your lease is ready. That's the minister from the church. I'd like you to be a deacon. And so Potiphar's wife. Now, Joseph at this point has cleaned up a lot of his act. I mean, he was sold into slavery, thrown in a well, a pit, sold. Life is not turning out quite the way he had envisioned it. But clearly he's a slave at this point. And here he is, though, he's a slave with privileges, high privileges. And Potiphar's wife, though, finds him attractive, and Joseph says, but no. Thank you, but no. And she did not care. She didn't like rejection, apparently. And so what she did was she grabbed his tunic, and he ran away. And then she told the servants and her husband, he hit on me. He came in here and left his tunic behind. So he was thrown into slavery, or into prison, into prison for a couple of years. While he's in prison, he's having lots of dreams, and his fellow prisoners. And it's a new king, the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh has thrown some other people into prison, and they're having dreams. That's what it was. They're having dreams. And Joseph interprets the dreams. And the prison warden hears about these interpretations. Well, the Pharaoh starts having dreams and wants to know how to interpret these dreams. You know, what's going on? Because he dreamt about there are 7 fat cows and 7 thin cows. And the thin cows come and eat the fat cows but still stay thin. And there are 7 ears of corn that are big fat ears of corn that are devoured by these scrawny ears of corn that stay scrawny. And so, but the warden tells the Pharaoh, "Oh, I've got this guy who's great at interpreting dreams." Now Joseph goes to him. He doesn't bargain. He doesn't, you let me out of prison. You don't. In fact, what they did, because remember, he's a Jew, and they shaved him because the Egyptians like clean shaven. And they shaved him down and put him in new clothes. So they took him completely away from his faith. But he shows up to do his duty, knowing with the single eye, there's good here that I'm not aware of. Let me not resist. It's really what it comes down to. And he shows up, and Pharaoh tells him his dream. And he says, well, what this means is there's going to be 7 years of abundance, of crazy abundance. There's going to be so much. And then there's going to be 7 years of such famine that the abundance will be forgotten. It will be so hard for 7 years, for so many. Well, the Pharaoh really respects this information. It makes sense. What does he do? He makes him the second only to him, only to the Pharaoh. Joseph now is second in command in Egypt. He gets beautiful linens. He gets a gold ring that signifies he's the right-hand man of the Pharaoh. He gets the second best chariot. Well, Pharaoh gets the best. He gets the second best. It shows he's clearly second in command, and all will bow at his feet. And seven fabulous years go by. Abundance. And Joseph is smart enough. He stockpiles. He stores up for the famine that's coming. And then in 7 years, the famine starts. Well, the nice Jacob says to his sons back in the homeland, we don't have any food. You guys need to go and get some. Go over there to Egypt and buy some food. I hear they have grain and stuff. So the brothers go, all 11 brothers, they go over there. There's Joseph. They don't even recognize him. He's so splendid that they have they can't tell that it's him. Joseph recognizes them right away, but he doesn't. That's okay. I got background music. So I gotta speed this along. And Joseph recognizes them, but he doesn't say anything. And what happens? They bow down to him. They are honoring the ruler. And can we please buy some grain, food? And Joseph says, sure. And what happens? He trick him to get him back. And not get even, but get him back. And he has the servants fill up their bags and puts their money back in the bag, the pouch of the bag. And on Benjamin, who is now Jacob's favorite, the youngest, fills it up and puts a silver cup into the bag. They leave, sends the police after them to say, you've stolen. What are you talking about? How do we steal? And they open up the bags and there's their money in it. But then the last one, Benjamin's of course, has the silver cup. So Joseph says, fine, you guys can go home, but leave Benjamin with me. And it's like, oh no, come on, he's our dad's favorite. What's our dad gonna do? We lose his other favorite. Too bad, that's the way it is. You go, you bring your father back, and we'll discuss it. So they go back home, and they get Jacob, and they bring him there. and they beg for Benjamin's release. And that's when Joseph says, "It's me." You know, surprise, it's me. I'm your brother. I'm the one you thought you killed. I'm the one you thought you sold into slavery. I'm the one. And I'm here to love you. I'm here to love you because it's better to love you than to hate you. What I have discovered through all of these trials and tribulations is what you meant for evil, God meant for good. How do I know this? Because I paid attention. I kept my eye on God instead of the problem. That's what we need to do. We have to keep our eye on God rather than what's wrong. We're clear on that. How do you feel about that? What do you think about that? Would you rather know God or would you rather know your problem? Some days I'd rather know my problem. And how do I know this? Because I talk about my problem more than I talk about God. I get on the phone to talk about problems, not about God. How many of you pick up the phone to have a chat about God with your friends today? That'd be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be just humiliating? Oh, they're going to think I'm insane to be getting on the phone to have a nice chat about what I think about God. But what if we did that more often? What if we at least called up each other to talk about God? Would it be so embarrassing to talk about God with people from your church? Well, for some of us it would be. You know, be a very short conversation at the very least because we have other things, more pressing things to talk about. And it's so silly. But the single eye on God. And when the single eye is on God, the good, all sorts of possibilities exist. Then I can start to see solution where I could not see it before. Then I can start to see my brothers and my sisters in light where I could not see them before. Then I can look in the mirror and see myself in light where I could not see myself in light before. And where I do not have to defend myself any longer because another's judgments really don't matter. When I find out my judgments about them don't matter. They really don't matter. A couple of years ago I was teaching a class on journaling. And journaling with Holy Spirit. I was having every day I was having a little chat with Holy Spirit, and Holy Spirit would write back. I mean, I was certain of it, and that it was a higher mind speaking through me onto the iPad. And I would go to lunch and have these chats. And there was this, but I was doing a class on it here. And this one night, it was a Wednesday, and something had come back to me where there was some, we'll call it triangulation about me. And it came back to me that day that it had been said by someone in a position that really was not wise for them to do it in front of the biggest mouth in the land. And I spent all day really upset about it. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm having a class that night, and I'm having the chat with Spirit, and because we took time to actually write in class. And I said, Spirit, I need help here. I need true thoughts. I need to be told what to think about this because I'm having so much upset about it. So tell me what to think. And suddenly, it occurred to me, and I didn't hear Spirit say, Shawn, you should think this. But suddenly I had a thought, wait a minute. Upset isn't real. How do I know that? Because with a different thought, it will change. And so, I need real thoughts. Because real doesn't change. So I wrote to Spirit again. I said, Spirit, what are my real thoughts about this? And Spirit wrote back that it doesn't matter. And I thought, I've spent all day long being upset over what doesn't matter. And with that, I didn't have a grudge anymore. I didn't need to confront the individual. I didn't need to punish anyone. I didn't need to make a contract. I didn't need to go say, you can't do this anymore. I didn't need any of that. Now granted, I didn't want to hang out with the person so much anymore. But I didn't have to be sick at my stomach. I didn't have to be in a state of resentfulness, if that was a word. I didn't have to be in anything but in my God connection. In my God connection, the single I. If anyone here has anything in their life they wish were different, anybody? Any aspect of your life you wish were different. Okay, here's the solution about that. Sit down and focus on love, peace, joy. Basically anything but the problem. Focus on a word that represents God for you. Some word. Love can be the word God. But focus on that as you sit there. Love is awakened me now. Peace is awakened me now. Joy is awakened me now. God is, I am. The Christ in me is awake now. I use all these different terms. You notice not where there wasn't one part of that that said, please take care of this problem. There wasn't one part of that that said, please heal me. There wasn't one part of that that said, there's something bad about my life. There's only good about my life when I'm focused on the truth. There is only good in my life when I'm focused on wisdom, peace, joy, love, my connection. When I am focusing on connecting with what I know to be true, the story loses its power and just simply becomes a story. And suddenly, I know exactly what to do with it. Suddenly, I have a physical healing. Suddenly, I'm able to communicate in love rather than in conflict. Suddenly, it's really impressive. Once I am connected, the whole world is available to me. And I don't have to be afraid that if you and I are having an issue, you'll yell at me. If I come to you and say, I'd like to work through this. If I come to you to work through this and you yell at me, it'll be fine. I don't have to yell back. That's the point. I don't have to, oh no, they yelled at me, they don't like me. Well, it's clear they already don't like me much, or they wouldn't be doing that stuff. I don't think I have to worry about that. My concern is I don't want to spend my days not liking them. Because when I don't like you, I don't like me. And quite frankly, I don't want to give you that much power so that I wouldn't like me. The single eye. Joseph kept a single eye on God rather than his problems. Yes, he prospered as a result. Yes, he was set free. Yes, so much took place. But what's more important is he served. He helped so many brothers and sisters to see light. He helped so many. By being the light, others could see the light in themselves. That's really what it comes down to. By being the light. And sometimes it goes in wonky ways. It wasn't just about, okay, brothers, we're here, all is forgiven. We have to circuitous get through there and to get there. So God clearly isn't always nice, but God is always love. God is always love. And so I encourage you in your dreams to see light. I encourage you in your dreams to speak light. I encourage you in your dreams and on your Facebook postings to see light. I encourage you in your dreams and your conversation over drinks to see light. I encourage you in your dreams and when you're driving the car by yourself to see light. When that person in the passenger seat who's invisible, who's giving you a lot of grief, see light. I encourage you, as I encourage myself, that if someone seems to be doing harm to you, or to your country, or to your world, or to your past, that you keep the focus on God, the good. That you are loved with an everlasting love by an invisible presence. Keep the single eye on the truth, and let the rest be a game. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
It works for me too.